Hey everybody, welcome back. I know it's been a couple of weeks since my last video was posted, and it's because we've just been really busy, and it was Thanksgiving holiday, and I had family over and grandkids running around everywhere. I just didn't have a quiet moment to sit down and shoot videos, so I've done a lot of new speaker upgrades, and can't wait to shoot some new footage on all the cool stuff we've just done, but I'm just now getting a chance to do that. So sorry about the delay. This week, or this episode I should say, we're going to look at a pretty cool little speaker. It's from Sound Artist, and it really fills a nice niche in the market for an 8-inch style two-way speaker. I like the concept and what they've tried to do with it. However, it didn't come without compromises, and this one definitely has some issues. And we're going to look at this design and go over it a little bit so you guys can see what you're getting if you're looking at purchasing one of these speakers. And then I did an upgrade on it to fix some issues with it and to smooth out the frequency response and all the stuff like you see me do all the time. So let's first look at this thing and look at the box. I mean, it's a pretty nice box on the outside. It really is. It's nicely veneered. And it's obviously one of the Chinese imported boxes. I can always tell because the material inside is really dark, and it's actually fairly lightweight for what it is. And it really has a hollow, rattly sound to it, which is kind of odd. Whatever's rattling in there, it's not the binding posts on the back. They're okay. Just a kind of a lightly made box. There is a brace running through it, right down the side of it here, but it definitely needs some no-rest. The crossover, I don't know if you guys can see it, and I'll post a picture of the crossover. See it in there? It's the cheesy stuff. It's the iron core inductors and the little polyester film caps and sandcast resistors, and at least they did do a air core inductor on the tweeter portion, and there was not much insulation in there. There was some on this little thin stuff on the side, but not much. If you can hear my voice in here reflecting around on the inside, then you can kind of tell that they didn't put enough insulation on the inside at all. The other issue I had was with this driver. And it's a cool looking driver. I mean, they got the big motor structure on it, cast frame. It is a paper cone, and I like paper cones. It's kind of a unique looking little tweeter. It looks like a soft dome tweeter that they've put this copper anodized waveguide on, and it looks like maybe they've put a bucking magnet on here for shielding or something. I don't know. There were issues with this driver. Problem is that at the lower range of the tweeter's response, right around 2 kHz, the tweeter has got a tremendous amount of ringing. I mean, it's crazy ringing in the Spectral Decay. You could see it just running way out there. So you look at that and you think, well, we're just going to have to push that crossover up a little higher and get away from that. Not a problem. However, this nice looking little paper cone woofer, and it's got what looks like some pretty decent X-Max to it. Soft suspension. It's got significant breakup right at the 2 kHz region too, so there's no getting away from it. It was going to break up in that region. It's going to ring in that region, and there's just no fixing it. So let's look at some of the measurements and see what it looked like from the factory. On-axis response, you can see it's pretty choppy. I mean, it's up and down. And what's bad is it's kind of high through the middle. You know, typically when you voice a speaker, you want to think about the rooms it's going to be in and what the room response is going to be in. And the room response will typically drop off the top end of a speaker's range. You'll see it roll off on the top because higher frequencies will reflect off of a wall or something, and it attenuates them quite a bit. You never want a speaker to be bright in the middle because that's right where you're going to have your sidewall reflections and things like that. This one is kind of bright through that area. It's just kind of crested through that area, and as you can see, it's pretty choppy. And then let's look at the spectral decay. If you look at the spectral decay, you can see right in that 2 kHz region, you can see multiple ridge lines there. There's some stored energy and ringing there that's the woofer's causing, and there's some stored energy and ringing that the tweeter's causing, and you're getting kind of some ringing from both drivers in the same frequency range. So there's just no fixing that. And then in the impedance curve, it's a reasonable impedance. You can see there's quite a bit of output from the port, but right at the tuning frequency of the port, there's a little bit of a notch there where you can tell there's a little bit of resonance going on. I don't know if it's a resonance that's the port resonance, which is here in the back, or if it's something going on in the box, and it's just exiting at that spot. The horizontal off-axis is going to be the same as the vertical off-axis because it's a coaxial design. Drops off normally, looks good in the way that it drops off. All right, let's look at the grill on these. The grills on these things look really nice. Unfortunately, the inside edges of the grill have a sharp edge. You always want to, when you do a grill, you want to radius that sharp edge on the inside so that it's curved like this and not like this. So you want it funneling away from the driver instead of being like this. And I should have showed the frequency response with and without the grill. The grill did have an effect on the response. Not really badly like a lot of speakers, because the tweeter's response is controlled by the waveguide quite a bit. So some of the tweeter's response isn't really affected so much by the grill. It's all the woofer's response. So it looks cool. It's a nice looking grill. It isn't magnetically held on. It's got pegs for it. But it did have some issues there. Let's look at what I did with this thing. And what I did was I had to figure out which ringing was the worst. Was the ringing of the woofer the worst, or the ringing of the tweeter? And which one did I want to move out of that area? But then if I moved the woofer out of that area, there was no way the tweeter was going to play low enough to reach the woofer. So that was out. So I could pull the tweeter back a little bit so the tweeter's not ringing, and then bring the woofer up to it. And that's what I wound up doing. Let's look at the crossover response, and you can see that I pushed it up just a little bit and balanced out the response. A lot of that choppiness is gone. From 200 hertz up to about 5 or 6 kHz, it's pretty smooth. The tweeter still has some dipped areas there, and there's a big dip in the tweeter's response right about 8 kHz, and it's because of the way they've loaded this in this horn, this little horn or little waveguide, and there is some throat cancellation going on there and causing that dip right at that area. So there's no fixing that. Let's look at the spectral decay. If you look now, it's a lot more balanced, and you can see there's still some ringing there, but you notice it's a much narrower band ringing instead of ringing over a wide band. That's what was left in the woofer, and I tried softening in that area a little bit, and I tried some aggressive notch filters, but it's just turning it down. It's not fixing the resonance, so there really was no fixing it. The overall frequency response now a lot smoother. The horizontal off-axis still looks really good. The impedance is a little different because of the notch filters I had to put in there to correct that stuff. So overall, this thing is, if they would have just fixed some of the engineering problems with the woofer and the tweeter and got that ringing out, in which they could have done by going back to the drawing board and working on and figuring out what's causing it and then resolving it. And then if they'd have just used some inexpensive air core inductors instead of iron core, and some polycaps, which are not that much money, you can just use some inexpensive polycaps, they could have made a real winner out of this thing. But as it is, I've turned it into one for you. And so the upgrade on this thing is $379.90, and that $379.90 includes all new crossover parts for it. It uses Sonicaps in the tweeter circuit. It uses good quality resistors. It's all new wiring. That's all high purity copper wire. It's a set of tube connectors to replace these cheesy binding posts that are on the back. and it's 2 sheets of no-res, and it needs the 2 sheets of no-res quite a bit. 1 sheet will do each box, and it will deaden out a lot of this ringing. And it should be an easy project. It doesn't involve a lot of parts. Parts count is fairly low. It's third order on the tweeter. It's basically first order on the woofer, but with a notch filter to knock that peak out of it right there. So it should be easy to get it all mounted on a board and either mount it to the floor of the cabinet or to the back of the cabinet where they've got the original crossover mounted. So it should be an easy one for you guys that own this and you want to take it up a lot of notches, several levels. The little kit will do it. You're already in it for $900. That's what they sell for new. So for $379.90, we can turn this into a pretty nice speaker for you. Oh, and I have to thank my wife. She gave me this cool t-shirt. She saw this at the 5 and Below store, I think, and she saw that and thought, I had to have it. She likes Minions, and the fact that this Minion is holding up the radio, the boom box as it will, she thought I had to have it. And I appreciate you guys sending me in t-shirts. If you send me a cool one, I may wear it in a video. That's it for this episode. I've got a lot more to shoot, and maybe I'll shoot some more today. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.